fragile woman walks in, head down, hands shaking, clutching a torn photograph of a baby. Judge Frank Caprio looks up from his bench. His usual smile fades as he sees her trembling. "Ma'am," he says gently, "are you here for theft?" She nods. Her voice is barely a whisper. "Yes, Your Honor. I stole milk. My baby hadn't eaten in 2 days." The room goes silent. Even the sound of the ceiling fan feels too loud. In that moment, the court stops being a courtroom and becomes a story about survival. The woman wipes her tears. "I wasn't trying to steal for greed. I just didn't know what else to do." Her words land like thunder in the quiet hall. She explains how she lost her job at a diner, how the lights in her small apartment were cut off, and how her 3-month-old cried through the night. She pauses, voice cracking. "Your Honor, when you hear your child cry from hunger, you stop hearing the law. You only hear that cry." Caprio leans forward. "How old is your baby?" 3 months, she says softly, pulling out a small picture. "Her name is Lila." Caprio nods slowly. The courtroom falls silent again. He folds his hands and says, "Ma'am, you've already punished yourself more than this court ever could." She sobs quietly. "I wasn't stealing to take, sir. I was stealing to feed." Caprio removes his glasses, places them on the desk. "And that," he says, "is the difference between crime and survival. This court finds you guilty under the law, but not under humanity." The audience gasps softly. "I'm waiving the fine," he continues, "and I'm ordering community assistance. You'll receive food support for your child and help finding work." Her knees almost give out as relief floods her face. The judge adds warmly, "You don't need punishment. You need a chance. Ma'am, you did what a mother's heart told her to do. Next time, come to us before hunger wins." She nods, voice breaking. "Thank you, Your Honor. God bless you." She turns to leave, clutching the photo of her baby. The bailiff opens the door. Sunlight spills across the floor. For the first time in a long while, that light feels like hope. In a world that often measures justice by rules, Judge Frank Caprio measured it by heart. He saw not a criminal, but a mother fighting for life. Cut to exterior. She walks out of the courthouse holding her baby now, smiling through tears. Sometimes mercy is the law we forget to write. And sometimes forgiveness feeds more than a hungry child. It feeds a broken soul. Defendant charged with theft. 1 carton of milk. He looks up, confused. 1 carton? That's all? Across the courtroom, a young woman stands, head bowed. She looks exhausted, clothes wrinkled, eyes hollow from sleepless nights. Caprio leans forward, his tone gentle but firm. "Ma'am, tell me what happened." Her lips tremble. "Your Honor, I stole milk for my baby. She hadn't eaten in 2 days." The room freezes. You can hear her voice break, the echo filling every corner of the courtroom. The clerk lowers his eyes. Even the officer beside her takes a deep breath. This isn't just a case, it's a cry for help. Caprio folds his hands. "Go on." She explains quietly between tears. She lost her job months ago. Her husband left. The rent was due. She'd spent her last dollar on diapers. "I went into the store," she says, "and stood there for 20 minutes. I wasn't planning to steal, sir. I just didn't have another choice." Her voice cracks again. "I left a note on the counter that said, 'I'm sorry. I'll pay when I can.' You didn't steal to take. You stole to survive." The words hang heavy in the air. It's not a statement. It's an understanding. Caprio turns to the officer. "Did the store owner press charges?" The officer nods. "He did, Your Honor. But he also said he doesn't want her punished harshly." Caprio nods again, thinking. The courtroom is still. No murmurs, no whispers. He glances back at the mother. "Ma'am, I want you to understand. The law doesn't ask why. It just sees what happened. But I do care why. She looks up for the first time. Tears stream down her cheeks. Because of people like you, Your Honor, I believe there's still kindness in the world. When the law stops serving humanity, it stops being justice. The courtroom is silent. Caprio continues. You've broken a rule, yes, but you did it to protect life. There is no jury, no verdict, no law that can make me see that as a crime. He pauses, then softly, I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to remind this court and this city what mercy looks like. The woman sobs quietly, hand over her mouth. Even the officer wipes his eyes behind her. Caprio looks toward the clerk. Case dismissed, fine waived. He turns back to her. Instead, the court will connect you with a community program, food, shelter, and job help. Her hands tremble as she whispers, Thank you, Your Honor. You don't know what this means. Caprio smiles softly. Oh, I think I do. I have children too. The gavel falls softly, one tap, almost tender. The mother covers her face and begins to cry silently. Caprio stands, walks around the bench, and hands her a small envelope. Here's a little something from me and the people of Providence, he says gently. Buy your baby some milk, and never lose faith again. The crowd in the back quietly claps. No noise, just the sound of hearts breaking and healing at once. She nods repeatedly, whispering through tears. Thank you, sir. God bless you. I'll never forget this. Caprio looks at her and says one final thing. Don't thank me. Just pass it on someday. In a world full of judgment, one act of mercy can rewrite the meaning of justice. The camera pans out of the courtroom. Caprio sits quietly, staring at the empty bench. He didn't see a thief. He saw a mother fighting for her child. Cut 2. The mother walking outside, holding her baby, sunlight reflecting on her face. She smiles faintly, the first smile in weeks. Voiceover continues. Sometimes, justice isn't written in laws. It's written in the hearts of those who choose to care. Fade out slowly. On screen, white text appears. Judge Frank Caprio. Justice with heart. Defendant charged with petty theft. 1 carton of milk. He looks up. Across the room stands a thin woman, hands clasped tightly together, eyes swollen from crying. He tilts his head. Ma'am, what exactly did you take? She whispers, barely audible. Just milk, sir. Just milk. Tell me what led you here. Her story unfolds like a wound opening. She lost her job 3 months ago. Rent overdue. Lights cut off. Her husband gone. A 3-month-old baby at home crying endlessly from hunger. She swallows hard. I walked into the store because I couldn't stand her crying anymore. I just wanted her to sleep, sir, to drink something warm. The courtroom holds its breath. Even the security guard wipes his eyes. Caprio listens in silence. Then he asks, gently, You knew it was wrong? She nods. Yes, Your Honor, but hunger doesn't listen to right or wrong. Did you leave anything behind? She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a folded piece of paper. A note. It said, I'm sorry. I'll repay when I can. Caprio studies the note. His hand trembles slightly as he reads the shaky handwriting. He looks back at her. What's your child's name? Lila, she whispers. For a moment, Caprio isn't a judge. He's a father. He imagines his own children crying with empty stomachs. That thought alone makes his throat tighten. He turns toward the court. Ladies and gentlemen, the law says theft is theft. But tell me, what do you call it when someone steals not for greed, but for life? Silence. No one answers. The gavel rests untouched. Caprio leans back, eyes heavy. The law can punish her, but can it feed her baby? The officer standing nearby lowers his head. Caprio continues, voice steady but emotional. When justice forgets compassion, it becomes nothing more than a machine. He faces the woman again. Ma'am, if I fine you, you'll owe money you can't pay. If I jail you, your baby starves. So tell me, what good would that do? She starts to cry uncontrollably. Caprio reaches into his robe pocket and quietly takes out a folded bill. He places it on the desk. Here's $20 from this court. Buy your child some milk. Gasps fill the room. The clerk's voice trembles. Your Honor. Caprio raises a hand. No paperwork needed, just humanity. The mother falls to her knees, hands over her face. Thank you so much. Caprio stands and says softly, you don't owe me a thing. Just promise me one day, when someone else is hungry, you'll remember this moment. The gavel taps once, quiet, merciful. Case dismissed. The courtroom erupts in quiet tears. As she walks out, the officer offers her his jacket. Sunlight streams through the doorway, wrapping her in gold. Caprio watches from the bench. His expression is gentle, but his eyes glisten. He whispers to himself, maybe the world isn't fixed by punishment. Maybe it's healed by understanding. Some crimes are born from greed, others from hunger. And when hunger drives a mother to steal, the greatest justice is mercy. Judge Frank Caprio didn't just forgive a thief that day. He reminded us that compassion is the truest law of all. Cut to the mother outside, holding her baby, smiling through tears. A faint breeze moves through her hair as she whispers, "We'll be okay now." He reads aloud slowly. Defendant, charged with theft. 1 carton of milk. His eyes lift from the paper. A young mother stands before him, thin, exhausted, and trembling. Her hands clutch a crumpled tissue. Her eyes are red from crying. Caprio's tone softens. Do you understand the charge, ma'am? She nods weakly. Yes, Your Honor, I do. He pauses. And, did you take it? Her voice cracks, trembling through tears. Yes, sir. But hunger doesn't understand laws. The courtroom falls completely silent. Even the ticking clock on the wall seems to stop. Tell me what happened. Her story spills out between sobs. She lost her job at a laundromat 2 months ago. Her rent is unpaid, electricity cut off, and her husband, gone without a word. My baby hadn't eaten, sir, she says, trembling. I had no money left. I just wanted her to stop crying. She explains how she walked into a grocery store, stared at the baby formula for several minutes, and finally reached for a carton of milk. I didn't mean to steal. I left a note. I said I'll come back and pay when I can. Caprio looks at her, deeply moved but silent. The courtroom is filled not with judgment, but with quiet heartbreak. The clerk shifts uncomfortably. The officer looks away. Caprio finally speaks. You know, the law says I should fine you. But what would that fine take from you now? Your dignity or your child's next meal? Her eyes widen. Tears fall freely. I didn't want to be here, Your Honor. I'm not a thief. I'm just a mother. Caprio nods slowly. I believe you. He looks down at his papers, then back at her. His tone becomes reflective, almost like a father teaching a lesson. I've spent years in this courtroom seeing people break laws for greed, anger, or pride. But this isn't crime. This is desperation. Did the store owner press charges? The officer replies softly, Yes, Your Honor. But he said he didn't want her punished, just to be helped. Caprio nods thoughtfully. Then he stands, removes his glasses and says, When justice stops listening to cries of hunger, it stops being justice. He takes a slow breath, walks around the bench and approaches the woman. The courtroom watches. No one dares move. You made a mistake, he says, but not out of malice. You did it out of love, and love, even when desperate, is still sacred. He places his hand gently on the desk in front of her. I'm waiving your fine, and I'll personally call the food bank to make sure you and your baby get what you need. She gasps, covers her mouth and breaks down in tears. Thank you, Your Honor. God bless you. He looks at the courtroom, officers, clerks, even visitors, all silent, some visibly emotional. Ladies and gentlemen, he says. We live in a world that's quick to punish, but slow to understand. Today we don't need punishment, we need perspective. He finally taps the gavel softly. Case dismissed. May compassion always be the loudest voice in this courtroom. The room stays silent. The mother steps forward, tears falling onto the floor. You saved my child today, sir. Caprio shakes his head gently. No, ma'am. You saved her. I just made sure the world didn't punish you for it. The law can measure guilt, but only compassion can measure pain. Judge Frank Caprio didn't just forgive a theft. He reminded us that justice isn't about rules, it's about humanity. Cut 2. The mother leaving the courthouse carrying her baby in her arms. Sunlight pours over them, warm and golden. In that courtroom, justice didn't speak through a verdict, it spoke through understanding. The baby giggles softly. The mother smiles, whispering, "We'll be okay now." Judge Frank Caprio sits quietly, hands clasped, eyes distant. The noise of the city hums faintly outside. Moments ago, he dismissed the case of a young mother who had stolen milk to feed her child. But the echo of her trembling voice still lingers in the room. Hunger doesn't understand laws. He whispers the words to himself, almost like a prayer. Caprio leans back in his chair, exhaling slowly. He's seen thousands of cases, speeding tickets, fines, and violations, but few stay with him like this one. His clerk, an older gentleman who has served beside him for years, walks over quietly. You did the right thing, Judge, he says softly. Caprio, sometimes doing the right thing isn't the same as doing what's written. He stands, walks toward the window, and looks out over the city. People rushing, cars honking, life moving at its usual careless pace. Out there, he murmurs, it's easy to forget that behind every mistake, there's a story. I'm not a thief, I'm just a mother. Her words echo again in his mind. He remembers the moment she cried, the way the courtroom fell silent. For once, no one was thinking about rules or laws. They were just human. The judge's voiceover continues. The world often thinks justice means punishment. But justice, at its core, means balance. The balance between what's fair and what's right. You know, when I stopped her, I thought it was just another theft, he admits quietly. But when she told her story, I didn't see a criminal. I saw my own mom. The room falls silent again. Even among officers and clerks, something has shifted. Caprio walks in, overhearing the words. He gives the officer a gentle pat on the shoulder. You did your duty, he says, and you did it with heart. That's what matters. A small envelope arrives, handwritten and slightly wrinkled. The bailiff hands it to him. Caprio opens it slowly. Inside, a short note reads, Dear Judge Caprio, you didn't just forgive me that day. You reminded me that good still exists in this world. I found a part-time job now. My baby's healthy. I'll never forget your kindness. With gratitude, Emily. A soft smile forms on Caprio's face. He folds the letter carefully and places it inside his desk drawer. The same drawer filled with dozens of other notes from lives he's touched. He sits back, looking upward. Sometimes, he says to himself, mercy teaches more than punishment ever could. Back in the courtroom, Caprio walks toward the bench one last time. He picks up his gavel, turning it in his hand thoughtfully. The law guides us, but compassion defines us. Every time we choose to understand instead of condemn, we heal something, not just in others, but in ourselves. He looks into the empty courtroom seats, the same place where hundreds of people once stood, trembling, pleading, hoping. I've learned something over the years, he continues. Justice is not a word written in books. It's a feeling written in hearts. Court adjourned, until compassion calls again. The mother walks down a quiet street with her child, holding a small grocery bag. The baby giggles in her arms. Cut back to Judge Caprio walking out of the courthouse, greeting people with a warm nod. His voice returns in the final line. Sometimes, justice doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to listen.